Hello, everyone, and welcome to Stone Shard. Today is going to be a little bit of a different video, pretty much. The question we're going to ask is, should I play Stone Shard? And I don't mean that specifically in relation to me, although that is part of the question. But I mean in general terms as someone who is looking for a game to play, looking for something they're interested in doing. With my experience with this game, I've been playing it since earliest beta editions, and it's always been a very interesting and unique game, and I am excited for it. I still like the idea of it. It is a semi-procedurally generated roguelike hard, adventure style game where the punishment is harsh and the environment is unique and interesting. The art style is quirky and clever. The combat is inspired, although it can be a little bit overbearing at times, and there is a bit of balance issues still going on. And yes, it is still in beta. The developers are working on this quite heavily, and they are consistently adding updates. Most recent ones just happened here on December 21st and 23rd. A little bit of balancing here and there, a little bit of changes to how the game operates, the level of difficulty some of the enemies have early in the game, getting rid of bugs and things like that, which is great. They happen to be consistently trying to envision this game as what it could be, and I appreciate that. And I feel like once this game is fully finished, I mean, definitely worth a look. But in its current state, what do we think about that right now? So the very first thing you do, and this is an example for anybody that hasn't played this game before, that you'll be doing when you start this game is picking a class. They don't have the ability to make your own individual characters yet, which would be a lot of fun once they get to that point where you can kind of pick and choose what you want to be. They don't have a system to implement that because currently they have it set up so you have a certain amount of stats and equipment and a little bit of money to start off with, and then you build your skills. There's obviously a lot of skills that they don't have implemented yet. Once those come in, they could make a drastic difference to the way that this game is perceived or played. But when you start, the very first thing you have to do is figure out what your optimal route is going to be just so you can play the game safely. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you were to just walk out of the inn right at the very beginning and head into the wilderness, other than the exorbitant amount of time you'll find yourself just walking, you could find a threat and then immediately die to it, which will send you back to starting all over, picking your class, and everything. So you have to make a step that will keep you from having to make that choice, from having to start basically all over again. Or even if you start from the point where you had already picked your class, rather, but before you'd done anything. So you have to prep. You walk into town, you grab weapons and armor that you think you might need. You sell a couple of items. You only have a little bit of starting gold, so your choices are limited. And then you will immediately go into picking up any quests, talking to people, and getting locations of interest. I didn't do that in this current play because obviously all we're doing is just talking about the game mostly. And then once you have all that stuff done, you go to the inn and you rent a room, and then you sleep for an hour so your game is saved. Congratulations, you just spent 15 minutes, and now you can start playing. If that gives you an idea of some of the potential problems with the way the game works. And yes, they want to make sure that you can't just quick save anywhere and that there's some requirements on that. But an alternate to that I think would be great to implement would be that you can save in towns. You can save in safe places. You take out a bandit camp as an example. Usually you can sleep there, but instead of having to use a bed, just let us save wherever. Because if I've already talked to the mayor, I don't feel like I should have to walk all the way back to the inn, because movement takes a long time in this game. I mean, everything you do is done on a turn-by-turn basis. There's no way to turn off that turn order situation, no way to go into live mode and just travel at a regular movement pace that you would have in another game. I can't hold my mouse button down and just keep going. I have to keep clicking. I can't, if I do it by hand, you can use the arrows, but that's even slower than like walking with your mouse and you're constantly clicking or holding down buttons. Now we've got our enemies here. So movement being an issue in town means that if you could just save when you were in town, you could just go talk to the mayor and you could get your quest and you could save there, and then if you lost out on something, it wouldn't require the whole walk back and go into the inn and then head out from the inn and all that kind of thing. But now we're in combat. So being able to soften your enemies up, pretty important, but switching weapons of course requires you to take a turn, which means, we got hit. We block 14 damage and lose 1 health. Not that big a deal. We've got our abilities here. They're kind of neat. Hooking Chop will pull somebody in. Dismember. I'm trying an axe build this time because I've tried archery, I've tried dual weapons, I've tried magic, and I'll have some conversational points on each one of those here shortly as well. But in the case of this, we now have caused this individual to have bleeding effects, so they're taking some damage. We've given them a leg injury. They're at 50% health. One hit took them down to 50%. Didn't kill anybody. Obviously, it's pretty tough. But in the fact that we hit them, they also attacked us back, and we lost some health. No big deal. All right. We'll continue fighting here. Few hits. We got him. Look at that. Not too bad, right? We killed an enemy. Not really much of an issue there. But we weren't fighting more than one enemy at a time. We have this complicated healing system in place where each one of your limbs has a certain amount of health on its own, and they can have certain effects that come in, causing you like pain, causing you bleeding or broken limb effects, all that kind of thing. A whole bunch of maladies and stuff. That is something cool. That's something that you don't see in a lot of other games. So it does give you some elements of unique combat there, some healing opportunities that, again, are good on paper, and they're implemented all right when you're playing the game. Again, brutal and punishing. If that's the kind of game you want to play, that's what you're into, then this will give you that. Like the Dark Souls of Dark Souls of roguelikes. All right, what is the range on this? There we go. Pull them in, strike, big hits, a couple of big swings. So herein comes a little bit of how this game's system fails, in my opinion. If you have a weapon that does a lot of damage, you're doing better than if you're someone who's trying to tank something. If you're playing a class that's sword and board, as an example, you're going to die more often than not. Because this game has brutal damage. This game has enemies that can cripple and wound you. Anytime you take a hit is a very, very bad thing. Whereas anytime you can kill an enemy before they can get hits on you, that's how you win. If you're able to kite with a bow, if you're able to get in with dual blades and strike enemies so fast that they go down before they have a chance to murder you, that's a way to win. Now, this wouldn't be a problem on its own if it wasn't such a pain to travel anywhere in this game. Every single time you play, and every time you go out to a goal, one, you gotta find it. You gotta know where things are, or you can just do a little bit of scouting. Once you've arrived there, the whole time, you're sitting in a point of vulnerability. If your enemies take you down before you can fend them off, or if you run out of resources, or if you are in a bad place where you don't have enough food, or you don't have enough healing items of various kinds, or anything like that, you're probably going to fail. I mean, you could leave and go back to town, and then come back and continue doing what you were attempting to do before, but that puts you at a loss of time. That puts you at a position where you're going to be spending 20, 30, 40 minutes just walking back and forth from town to the place that you were trying to do. It's an artificial extension of a game. This game is going to require a lot of time and investment if you really want to get into it and see what it has to give. Maybe that'll be changed in the future if they implement some sort of quick travel option. Beginning of the game, you don't have anything like that at all, but as you beat some levels, you can or beat some levels as you do some of the quests. Dang it, really? You can eventually you can eventually open up the caravan and use that to travel between different locations on the map. But it's just the major cities, and it doesn't have anything to do with any of the points of interest that you'll be searching for. So you still have to go out and walk. And in the last time that I played this, I walked between one town and the other. And you're like, wow, just use a caravan. Jeez. But I wanted to prove a point. If you had to travel on foot, this map is huge. And finding anything of interest takes an exorbitant amount of time. And if you run into some sort of threat, like we ran into mooses, whatever, in the last game, and they killed us. And we lost all of the travel time that we had spent and had to start over and do it again, which can be intensely frustrating to some people because it's not even the game mechanics necessarily that are screwing you over. It's the fact that you have to travel so far. And there's no like click on the map and just have them go there. There's no turn it from turn based to live action so you can run a little bit faster. There's no horse, there's no sprint, nothing like that. Leader has the key. Got to go save this guy. All right, so we're gonna wander into this dungeon. That's a situation I haven't run into before. We got a bunch of enemies. Now we could try to run back. We could try to kite with a couple of crossbow shots. Forgot to load the crossbow before, so that's a problem. You got to load it every single time you want to fire it, and your accuracy is incredibly bad with this particular weapon. We'll move a little closer. We can't get to you yet. Come on, a little closer. Strike, wounded, striked. So we are playing with a build that has a high damage weapon. I went and bought this one to start with. 22 damage, pretty good. And the fact that we can cripple enemies when we use the weapon is good too. High damage weapon. That's what we're going with. That's the way to win this game. That's taking the two-handed sword build from Dark Souls and running with it, where you just strike down your foes in 1 or 2 hits, and you don't have to worry about dodging too often. You don't have to worry about, staying good the whole time. You can just make it work for you. Pull you over here, big ol' strike and wound, and head removed. Look at that. Significantly easier to play this build than when I was trying Sword and Shield. Significantly easier at fighting, 1 or 2 targets than using Fire Magic was. Fire Magic can do 18 damage maximum if you get lucky on a few good strikes with it. And then you have to wait a few turns before you can do it again. I'm now at half health. My opponents are down. We found a lumberjack axe. Let's see if that's any good. Toss you out. Inventory management is... ugh. There's just so much of it in this game. You will be trying to find space for everything for so long. This has much better damage. But we gotta fix it. Everything's broken. Everything is broken when you find it early in the game. And maybe that's, just so there's a sense of progression. But you, never find anything that's not broken. I don't know. I don't know if that's realistic or not. So, another aspect of this game is that every single one of your stat increases that you want to get is only 1 point per level. 1 point per level doesn't give you a hell of a lot, but it says, okay, well, maybe if I go up 20 or 30 levels, I'll be strong enough to do X, Y, Z. I'll have more health, I'll have more damage, I'll have more crit efficiency, I'll be able to dodge, and I'll be able to be more accurate, and I'll see things further, and all this kind of stuff. But leveling in this game takes forever in this current state. I'm not sure if it's going to stay that way when the final game launches, but that's where it's at right now. So you will spend an hour or 2 or 3 trying to go up 1 level. And killing enemies doesn't necessarily do it, but neither do the quests. The quests can give you good experience, but most of the time it's not as much as the payoff would give you. There's a sense of progression that is missing in this game, in that it takes so long to progress in general. If you're going to be struggling so hard, this is a minor leg injury. Causes us to have issues with being moved around by enemies. Our morale goes down. It's harder to swim. Our pain goes up. We can't dodge as well. We can't heal as well. Our energy and our pain changes are increasing and changing. But we can use a splint. Look, part of the mechanic. We'll just put that on the leg. We'll splint it up. It's now healing. Now we need to rest in order for us to gain back enough health for this to be okay. So we'll just sit here and we'll wait. This game is kind of all about waiting and taking things slow. I wasn't kidding when I've stated in the past that maybe this could be turned into an ASMR. Because there are minor sounds, there's lots of little clicking noises. I might even try to do that at some point, just to be silly, just to make the point. But you have to eat, you have to drink, you have to keep track of all of your injuries, you have to rest when, you know, you're broken down. You have to do so many things that there's a definite sense of danger. I mean, it's a good thing in a game, a sense of, oh, things are crazy. I could die at any time. That could be a real problem. I'll have to start all over again. There's a risk reward there. But I think that the thing that impacts it the worst is that you can't make that be the major point of your game and then force people to walk the walking simulator. Dying is already tough enough. You already have to go all the way back. You already have to fight everything again. But you could be wandering out on the wilds and you run into wolves and you can't get away from them. Or you run into a bear accidentally. There's a whole bunch of enemies there and you think you can take one or two out because you're desperate for experience. So you can get that little bit that'll level you up. So you decide to fight and then you die. And then you gotta walk again. And then that's it. That's the game. It's a walking simulator. I'm gonna walk from here to there, from here to there. And I'm gonna collect a couple of things on occasion that are not really worth anything. And I'm not gonna progress much. And then sometimes I'm gonna die. And then I'm gonna start the whole thing over again. And it makes it... It's definitely... And you get these books, by the way. We have this treatise here. This is how you gain the ability to build yourself up more. You buy a treatise, you get a treatise, you buy it, you find it, whatever, and it's like, look, I can now get quick hands with a dagger. I can now do double lunge. I can now do gaping wound. I can now do from the shadows. When I level up, I'll get the choice of choosing one of those abilities. 1. I have now been playing for 20 minutes at level 1, and I've just surpassed half a level up for the very first level in the game. For the very first chance for me to really start to develop who I want my character to be. If I made a mistake at the beginning in choosing an axe, well, that's it. I either restart or I just accept this is my character now until I go up 2, 3, 4 levels, which are going to take multiple hours to do. I'm still injured. Now I have to deal with food. Can eat some things, sure. Let's eat some random stuff we found in the dungeon, because everything costs money. We'll rest a little longer and see if our leg wound finally goes away. How long is this taking? We're going up like 1 health every few turns as we heal. And yes, healing shouldn't be super duper fast, but remember that we are still playing a game. So, should I play this? That question comes down to how much patience do you have? How much time do you have available to sink into a game that ultimately is going to be challenging and difficult and sometimes maddening. Sometimes it's just going to make you want to rage quit and never come back to it again. Sometimes it's not. For me, I do these games streamed. I play them in front of, some audiences. I put them on YouTube for individuals to watch when they're kind of chilling and doing other things, or want to see a game but don't necessarily want to play it, or are feeling lonely and want to have a calming, nice voice, if that's what I have to you. That's like interested in playing games and, giving you something to do. And for this game, it's much more suited to somebody who is, let's say, just wasting time. Who's okay with just staring at something and relaxing, I guess. The question is, should I play this game? Keep bringing it up. If you're the type of individual who enjoys long, arduous, and difficult games with a bit of sometimes stress-inducing combat, where any decisions that you make could be the wrong ones and could kind of screw over your run and you have to start over again, then this game is for you. Once the full game is finished and some more balancing has been done, once we've grown used to the idea of what this game is going to be. Come back here, you. Gotta chase him down now. Can't really do much about that. Shoot at him with a bow. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit the door. 5, 6. Got him! Finally went up a level. How many bandits did I have to kill for that? See, that's a question. I've killed 1, 2, 3, a boss, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I think 14 enemies. I defeated 14 enemies at level 1 to go up 1 level. And that was when I needed 500 experience. Now I need double that. So the enemies don't give me quite as much experience anymore because I've gone up a level. So fighting these same individuals, I will now need to kill about 40 of them to go up my next level. 40 enemies could very easily turn into a death, very, very sure. You could go back and forth from town, things like that. But you're like, hey, why don't you just get you have stat increases? You have new skills you can get, right? Sure. I can increase my willpower. Gain some bonus magic power, pain resistance, fortitude. Can increase my vitality. There's some more health, some block power recovery, which doesn't make a difference for us right now. Some control resistance, so people can't toss us around. We gain 3 max energy and bonus energy restoration. Okay. Reaching the threshold of 15, 20, 25, or 30 is what gives you the extra stuff. So right now, point of perception gives us some accuracy and armor penetration. Gives us some counter chance and reduces our chance to fumble our attacks. Gives us some block chance and some body part damage, so we can do a little more damage to their body parts. But none of these things immediately increase anything of true value to us other than maybe perception, so we don't miss. We miss all the time, if you may have noticed. Again, we'll drink our drink, we'll eat our food, and technically we'll be fit to continue going on this adventure, but that did take time. We can reload in this category, in this menu here, although there should be just like a reload button. I didn't mean to shoot the chest, wasting an arrow. I think if you attack chests, you can't even get anything out of them, so if you don't have a lockpick, you lose anything that might have been inside. Bunch of ingredients for alchemy that doesn't currently exist in the game yet, but I'm sure will at some point in the future. We have a guy we can unlock out of the cage. Kazeo, let's go continue fighting in the dungeon. Let's go see what else we can find and what other treasures are there. But the fact is, if I died now, all that progress I made would be gone. Currently using 2-handed axes. We haven't found a treatise, so even though we've gone up a level, we literally only have one option. Shield breaker. 2-handed attack supply their target with less block chance, less block power recovery, and minus 15% block power for 5 turns. If the target's block chance is 0%, each attack grants 2.5% crit chance for 5 turns in stacks. Woo hoo. So we can start critting. Now we have all of these here, but we can't get them until we find a book. We have to find it, we have to buy it. Alright. Hey there, friend. Goes without saying, I feel like crap, but it's nothing really. Just clear the way back, and I'll get out of here on my own after I rest for a bit. Also, they whacked me good, but I managed to keep a few things here to put it to good use. He kept some bread and drumsticks. Thank you for the items I don't really need. Okay. Why does this say claim the reward with the hapless peasant? Is he not in here anymore? Okay. Maybe there's a reward when I get back to town. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah. So gotta go all the way back to town. So we've made it through this dungeon. We did all the fighting. We're a little bit injured. We don't have any other healing items. This is done significantly better as a build than the first one that I went through with a two-handed axe. Sure, swords and maces and things like that would be similar. Because they do high damage, they can take some serious hits to our enemies, and that keeps us alive. So maybe looking at this going, hey, you're not struggling. This game's not hard. It doesn't look hard. But I guarantee you that playing through it with any different build is something that is a little bit more challenging. Two-handed weapons, you can get out enough damage with, or two-handed weapons, you can get enough damage out. With dual weapons, you can get enough damage out to take on some of the enemies, but not enough to face down pretty much any flora or fauna with any real success. If you're using a sword and shield or anything that's just one-handed weapon, you're kind of in trouble. You can't do enough damage to keep yourself alive before you get whacked. If you're using magic and you miss a few shots, you shoot wrong, you don't kite well enough, because that's pretty much all you have to do is fire and run away, then you're in trouble. If you run out of magic, you're dead. You don't have any armor, so if someone gets close to you, you're probably dead. There were a few times when I was playing as the runaway sorceress that when the enemies came in close, got in just a couple of hits, that was it. That was the run. So I keep returning to this, but again, to remind you, should I play this for individuals who are curious? My opinion is give it a try if you have the money to do so. If you don't, I would wait. Right there, I very nearly just got killed by this boar. I'm in pain, so my morale's gone down, fumble down, healing efficiency's down, sanity changes change, damage taken goes up, so I'm gonna take more damage. I'm hungry. I'll eat the bread, why not? See if we can find room for this boar pelt, because it's actually worth money. Put it there, sure, we'll get rid of this. Now this club is magical, we'll keep that. So again, back down to the, let's just keep reorganizing our inventory. And, that's fun, right? Fatty meat we can't store anywhere, we don't have room for it. We could replace the boots, but those things would be really good if we actually got them. Fully satiated, you eat again, you get sick. So, if you can't afford it, if it's not something that's really on the top of your list, I would wait until a full release of the game comes out, because there are a lot of issues that I think they're going to address over time. Is this game stream worthy for people like me that play on Twitch or that play on YouTube? I'm not so sure. Individuals that watch this on my channel, please give me your input. Do you want to see more of this? Are you enjoying the experience of watching our little paper character bopping back and forth as they walk, as this is 90% of this game is just us walking places. You got some soft music in the background, and you've got a character who is just bopping and walking away. Checking the map on occasion to make sure you don't accidentally pass things that you shouldn't be. That kind of thing. Because for me, I'm not so sure. It's not that I don't have a fun time playing this, but there isn't a lot that happens. It's a whole lot of just walking. That's it. That's all there is to it. It's a whole lot of walking. It's the occasional save game from the inn, making sure that you don't just die right away, and that you have a place to come back to. And then it's a whole lot of walking. So with that, I hope I've answered some of your questions, some of the ideas around it. There is a lot to this game long term. There's some boss fights, which are pretty neat. If you see the intro, it gives you an example of what you can actually expect from certain things. You have to, have a mechanics involved in boss fights where you have to move to certain places, dodge special attacks that are choreographed. You have to face down giant trolls and things like that. The boss fights, I think, are fantastic. I absolutely think those are great. But I think the body of the game is what is difficult to deal with right now. Like the overarching meat and potatoes of this game currently is walking. And while I see that in some other games, you could look at popular MMOs as an example of your Final Fantasies or your World of Warcrafts or whatever. You have flight paths, you have teleportations, you have ways to get around the giant map that help you feel like it's easier to get from place to place. Like you're not just doing the one thing, which is just walking everywhere. But this game still does that. This game is very much a walking simulator with roguelike crazy moments attached to it, which are oftentimes kind of fun when they happen, but they're far enough in between that it can become a problem. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you for checking out this video. And again, leave your feelings in the comments. I'd love to know what the community thinks as a whole of this game. Whether it's something individuals enjoy watching, or if it's just too boring, or if there's something else about it. I mean, there are permadeath modes, but those are brutally punishing. Yes, you already have an element of, okay, well, if I die, I'm now going to have to spend 25 minutes getting back to where I was at before. So having that turn into, okay, now if I die, I have to lose 3 to 6 to 12 hours of what I've already done, most of which was walking. Anyway, that's going to be it for now. That's going to be this video. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.